So here we go, 4-5b. Now, we're going to start, the next 3 lessons are all going to be on the same thing. We're going to solve quadratic equations now. Okay? We've solved lots of equations this year. We solved linear ones. Those were nice and easy. That was like the first month of school. So now we're going to solve some quadratic equations. So let me do a little introduction into what this is going to mean for us. So over the next 3 lessons, we're going to learn how to solve a quadratic 5 different ways. Okay? Today in lesson 4-5, we are going to learn to solve a quadratic by my favorite way, which is factoring. And now that you guys are super good at factoring, you're going to have no problem solving by factoring. Okay? The other way that we're going to learn is by graphing. And you might want to groan right now, which you just did, some of you. But we're going to do this on our calculator. Yay! We were all boo, and then we were all like, yay! All right, then what we're going to do is we're going to skip 4-6 for just a couple days. And we're going to do 4-7 before we do 4-6, because we're going to leave 4-6 for the block. It just works out much better that way. And in 4-7, we are going to learn how to solve a quadratic by doing the quadratic formula. Probably my least favorite. It's plugging numbers into a formula, and then you get your answer. Okay, and then 4-6 will be the last 2 ways, and this will be the hardest way. Number 4 will be by completing the square, which is actually Matthew Weaver's favorite way to solve a quadratic. Ask him. Complete the square, and it's the hardest way, and he likes it. Yeah. So if you need help, you should ask him. He's really good at it. And we're also going to do finding square roots. Okay? So those are the 5 ways. And you're probably like, what? Why don't we just do it one way? No, we don't do that. Oh, no, that would be dumb. Yeah, we need lots of ways to really do really well on. So, okay. So if I ask you to solve by graphing and you decide to solve by factoring, wrong. Yeah, I know. Okay, so when we are going to solve by factoring today, we need something called the zero product, bless you, the zero product property. Okay? The zero product property, it's pretty basic, but we use it a lot in a really good way. The zero product property says if I take something, I'm going to call it A, and I multiply it times something else, B, and when I multiply these 2 things together, I get 0. Okay? So I take something times something, I get 0. Then what must be true? What has to be true here? Then either what? A has to be 0 or B has to be 0. Or both, right? Okay? So if I tell you, if I do 2 times x equals 0. Either 2 has to be 0, which it's obviously not, or x has to be 0. And so what would your answer be? 0. X equals 0. Okay. You can also look at it like this. If you had 3 times x minus 1 equals 0, and I have 2 things being multiplied together to give me 0, it means that one of them, or both, has to be 0. Okay, so what would x equal here? Without like solving it, yes, you got it, 1. X would have to be 1, right? 3 can't be 0, but if I plug 1 in, guess what I get here? I get 0, okay? So x would equal 1. So that's how the zero product property works, and we're going to use that with factoring, solve by factoring. The other thing is that when you graph these, you're going to get a parabola, and these points are going to be very important. Those points right there are called the X-Intercepts, and they are also called the zeros. They are what makes your polynomial, your quadratic function 0. Okay? All right, we are ready. We're going to do part B. and then we'll do part C, and that'll be it. So right now, we're going to do solve by factoring. My favorite way. We do this in calculus, we do this in ham, they do it in RAM. Solve by factoring is never going to go away. So you got to get really good at it, especially if you want to get to calculus one day. Is that their goal, to get to calculus? Yeah, good. Yeah, if you want to do any kind of engineering, or you want to be, I don't know, maybe even a doctor or something like that, you got to take calculus. Okay? All right, solve by factoring. Here we go. Number 1. We have x squared minus 5x minus 6 equals 0. Okay, we need to solve this equation. In other words, we need to find out what x is that's going to make this whole thing 0. If I try guess and check, I can try 0. 0 doesn't work. I can try 1. 1 doesn't work. But we're not going to do that. We're going to solve by factoring. So we're going to take this quadratic, which is equal to 0, and we're going to factor it. Okay? Now, you guys are so good at factoring. I just graded your test. It was amazing. We're going to put a -6 up top, a -5 on the bottom with a 1 and a 1. And then we go, what times what is -6? Adds up to -5, and we get, yes, -6 and +1. Sometimes this one tricks people because they think it's 3 and 2. Okay, so then we get x minus 6 and x plus 1. And so now I need to solve, okay? I did the factoring part, and now I need to do the solving part. I need to find out what x is. But since I have a product right here, and it's equal to 0, I can use the product property, which says either this factor has to be 0 or that has to be 0. So what would make the first one 0? 6. And what would make the second one 0? -1. And those are your 2 answers. You're going to get 2 answers for these problems, okay? Most of the time. Sometimes you only get 1, sometimes you don't get any. But a lot of the times you'll get 2 answers. And then you can check, does 6 work? Let's see. 36 minus 30 minus 6. Does that equal 0? It sure does. Check -1. That works too. I'm just saying it does because we did it right. Okay? Now, if you get stuck on this part where you're like, how do you figure out what x is? Some people are like, oh, it's just the opposite. That's true. But what we're really doing is we're setting that factor equal to 0, and we're setting this factor equal to 0, and we're solving. Okay? But you don't have to take the time to do that. You can just see it. So x would equal 6, and x would equal -1. All right, let's try another one. Number 2. Yes. Sometimes they do this to you. X squared minus 7x equals -12. Now, you cannot do the 0 product property if you don't have 0 on one side, okay? So your first step is to do what? Add 12. Very good. Try that. Now, you added 12. Good. Did you factor, or were you just waiting for me? You were waiting for me. That's cute. All right. Go ahead and factor. And you get, oh, does anyone do it without the star sometimes? Yeah. When there's just a 1 in front, who does? Oh, yeah. You do it without the star every time. You don't really need the star here. You could just, if there's a 1 in front, you can just go, what times what's 12 adds up to -7? It's pretty quick, right? Because you're going to get a 1 up top for the A. And so this would just be -4 and -3. Yeah? Okay, if you want to do the star every time, that's fine. If not, there's, that little shortcut. And so then we get 2 answers. X could be 4 or +3. Yay. All right, let me show you one where you only get 1 answer. By the way, you're getting 2 answers because this parabola, it looks like this. And it goes through 3 and it goes through 4. And that's why you're getting 2 answers, okay? But what happens when a parabola does something like this? Number 3. X squared plus 20x plus 100 equals 0. X squared plus 20x plus 100 equals 0. Let's go ahead and factor this, okay? Yeah, this is a perfect square trinomial. So if you recognized it, it's just x plus 10 times x plus 10, or x plus 10 squared. And what happens is you get 2 answers, but they're the same answer, right? You get x could be -10, or x could be -10, all right, so x equals negative 10 is your only answer, okay? And so you might be like, oh no, these are all supposed to have 2. That one has 1 because you know what happens at negative 10? Your parabola, all it does is it just touches the x-axis. It doesn't actually go through. All right, let's try this one, number 4. Let's do something that has a number in front. Let's go 2x squared equals negative 7x plus 15. Okay. For this one, what you want to do is you want to get everybody over to one side. We got to get 0. Now, never subtract the 2x squared. We don't want a negative x squared term. We always want that to be positive. So we're going to bring these guys over to that party, over to that side, okay? So here we go. We get 2x squared plus 7x minus 15. All right, and now we're solving by factoring. So we want to make a little star here. We're going to go a times c up top, so negative 30, 7 on the bottom, 2 and 2. And so 2 numbers that multiply to give us negative 30 and add up to 7. Ooh, Jared, you're really fast at these. 10 and negative 3. Nice. So here we're going to reduce and get 1/5. And here we keep 2 and negative 3. Okay, so write your factors out. We have 2 of them. We have 1x plus 5, or just x plus 5, and 2x minus 3. Now, so far we've had really nice factors, right? And so we can tell right away that one of our answers is negative 5. But what about this one over here? That's tough to how is that going to be 0? Well, you know what you do? You set it equal to 0 and solve, right? We're trying to find out what x is going to be to make that 0. Just set it equal to 0 and solve. And you can do that in your head, right? Can you add 3 and divide by 2? Sure. Add 3, divide by 2. Okay? If you need to work it out, go ahead. Add the 3, divide by 2, x is 3/2. There you go. Those are your 2 answers. All right, let's do 2 more. You try this one. Number 5. You can tell these are my favorite. I want to do 40 of them, but I won't make you do 40 of them. 9x squared minus 49 equals 0. Solve by factoring. Solve by factoring. So here we go. This is the difference of 2 perfect squares. You guys did this on your test. Yeah.
For number 4.
4.
No, okay, for those kind of equations, what if there's a GCF?
Yes, we're going to do that in just a minute. Did you get to one of those already? Yeah. Okay, yeah, we'll do that one next. All right, so here we go. Let's factor this as the difference of 2 perfect squares. So this is 3x times 3x. And then this is plus 7 and minus 7. So we're going to get 2 answers again. Okay. Here we set this equal to 0 and solve. So you would subtract 7 and then divide by 3. Okay. For this one right here, this one, you would add 7 and then divide by 3. Okay? Yes, yes. Number 6. Let's say that we have now 6x squared minus 2x equals 0. Here's a GCF problem. Okay? So this isn't a normal factoring like we have, 3 things we get to factor out. We're going to factor out the greatest common factor because that also is something that we need to do. And so the greatest common factor between these 2 terms is what? 2x. Perfect. So we're going to take 2x out of both. And so you end up with 3x minus 1. Okay? I'm going kind of fast because I think you're really good at factoring, and I think you got that down. It's the solving part that's new today. So now take a look. You have 2 factors. What would make this factor 0? It's not a trick question. It's 0. 0 would make x 0, right? And what would make this factor 0? 1/3. Add 1, divide by 3. Did that answer your question, or is there a harder one?
Yeah.
Wait, I asked you 2 questions. Which one? It answered your question?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, let's try one more. Last one. X squared minus 25 equals 0. Here's the thing. Something like that, I know a lot of you guys can solve that in your head, right? Before you start doing, oh, I'm going to factor, just look at it sometimes. Go, oh, duh. If you can't, that's fine. We can factor as x plus 5, x minus 5. Now I'm going to show you a really fun way to save yourself a little bit of room and some ink. You know what I'm going to say? You can write this as plus or minus 5. Whoa, yes. That's tricky. You got that? Good. All right, so now let's move on. Let's do our calculator. So if you haven't been listening because you've been working on whatever else you're working on, you probably should listen to this because this is calculator stuff, okay? Calculator stuff can be tricky. You really need someone to walk you through it. So go ahead and get your calculator out, and we're going to try some of these now. Let's put away all that stuff we've been doing. Yes. All right, so here we go. We're going to now solve by graphing on our calculator. Now, the book's going to teach this different than I do. I do these the same way every single time. Let me show you what I mean. Number 8. All right, so we're going to solve this one. It says x squared plus 4x minus 6 equals 0. Now, what I do is I go ahead and I try to factor this, and it's not factorable, okay? It did say to solve by graphing, so I do need to do it that way. So here's what you're going to do in your calculator. You are going to take one side of the equation, and you're going to plug that in for y1, okay? And when you graph this, it's going to, I don't know exactly what the graph looks like right now, but let's say it looks like that, okay? Then you're going to take this side, and you're going to plug that in for y2. Okay. y2 equals 0 is a flat line that goes right across. And the answers, where the parabola equals 0, is where? Yes, 2 points where they intersect, okay? But the thing is about intersections is you need two things. If I told you, hey, go over to the intersection of Palo Verde, you would look at me like I'm crazy, right? Palo Verde and what? It's an intersection. It's got two lines coming through. This has a parabola and a line, and these are going to be our answers, the x values. So let's do it. Here we go. Go to your calculator. Okay? We're going to go ahead and go to y equals. Turn your plots off. You do not need your plots on right now. And we're going to plug in x squared plus 4x minus 6 into our calculator. Okay? Yeah?
For the y2, I had like an arrow on it.
No. Over here? Like over here?
Right there, yeah, right.
Hit enter until it changes back to a line. And then for y2, plug in y2 equals 0. Yes?
How do you turn your plots off?
Oh, you go up to them, arrow all the way up, hit enter, and come back down, and they should be turned off. Okay, so you got to have two equations in to find the intersections. If you forget the second equation and you only have one, and then you're trying to tell your calculator to find intersections, it won't be able to. Okay? All right, now hit zoom 6 so that we're all in a standard window. And here it comes. My graph was it's okay. My graph was okay. Now, it graphed 2. Those of you who have a color calculator, you're lucky because you actually see two equations, two graphs. There's a graph here of the parabola, and then there's also a straight line across. Okay? And now we're going to find the intersection. So this is what you're going to do. I'll write down the,
Mine didn't graph.
zoom 6. Zoom 6, yeah. So now what you're going to do is you're going to go to second trace, and that is called the calc button. Helps you calculate things. So hit the second button, second trace, and what we're going to do, if you look at them, we're going to do number 5, the intersect. Okay? You see it? So you can either arrow down to 5, or you can actually press the number 5 on your calculator, but we're going to choose intersect. So hit enter on intersect, and your calculator is going to ask you some questions. Okay? Your calculator is asking you, is this the first curve of the two that you want to have intersects? And it says y1 equals x squared plus 4x minus 6. To answer yes, because that is the first curve, you hit the enter button. And now it's asking you, is this the second curve? And we're like, duh, of course it is. Yes, hit enter again. Would you like me to guess what the answer is? Sure, guess away. Hit enter one more time, and there it is. Is it pretty? No. You can round to 3 decimal places, and you get x is approximately 1.162. Now, some of your calculators may have found the other one. Did anybody find the other one first? Yeah, okay. Well, we need both of them, so here's how you find the other one. Doesn't matter which one they found first. Do it again. Go to second, trace, choose intersect, number 5, and before you answer their questions, take the arrow button and arrow it over to the other one, the other X-intercept, because now I need to find that one. So if your calculator found this one first, arrow over to the other one. And then hit enter. And you'll get pretty quick at this. You just hit enter 3 times. Enter, enter, enter. And so now I get x is about negative 5.162. And those are the 2 solutions. Yes?
When I went to second trace calc.
Number 5.
5?
Yes, intersect. We're doing the intersections of the 2 equations. Anybody's calculator not working? I can come fix it. Everyone's working? Yours isn't working? All right, if you have something like this, I want you to try this one. The book teaches this one different, but let me tell you how I do this one. This is 5x squared minus 8 equals 18x. Now, your book will teach you to put y1 is the left and y2 is the right. I don't do that. I like to bring everything over to one side and have 5x squared minus 18x minus 8 equals 0. Okay? That way, when you go to graph, it's always y1 is the parabola and y2 is always 0. And you're just finding the yeah. So the book will teach you to do like y1 and y2, like this side, but I don't. Bring it over, always make y2 0, y1. All right, so try that one. And then if your calculator is still not working, let me know, and I will come help you.